Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Maya, and today I'm going to be talking about working in the nonprofit sector and how I pretty much resigned from my toxic job. I currently reside in Sacramento, California, but I'm originally from the Bay Area, and I have been working in the nonprofit sector for about 6.5, almost 7 years now. I started working in the nonprofit sector as an after school leader. I worked with elementary schoolers, so pretty much I was his second to fifth graders before I transitioned into a role working for a middle school, which I work with middle schoolers. And then shortly after that, I had an opportunity to do a program where I could learn some peer counseling skills. And then I became a certified peer counselor. Did that role for about 2.5, almost 3 years. Before I actually relocated to Sacramento to, be closer to my sister and my niece, and also to finish my undergraduate degree at Sacramento State University. And during that time, I actually transitioned into a new role where I began to work with young moms. I did that for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And then I decided that there really weren't any more opportunities for growth. So I wanted to return back to community mental health. And I did that for about 8 to 9 months because the program was actually just being piloted. And I just realized it just wasn't a good fit for me anymore. So then I transition into the role in which we are going to be talking about now. So just as a disclaimer, I am not going to be mentioning the organization that I previously worked for, just for privacy reasons. And I just want to reiterate that I am not here to bash anyone, but everything that I am saying is from my experience. And honestly, like the truth is the truth. I don't know what people kind of want me to do. So if you can't take it, then it's kind of not my problem. And then I guess also a hit dog gonna holler. So I started off working at this previous nonprofit in 2023. I believe it was in August of 2023, kind of like September. I was hired on as a program coordinator, like the rest of the people on my team. And basically, what that meant was I would be working with youth between the ages of about 13 to 24. Now it is 11 to 24. And I will be teaching healthy relationship skills, utilizing evidence based curriculum, talking about everything from boundaries to expectations to what are some warning signs of an unhealthy relationship, some signs of a negative or toxic relationship. We also did some things around sexual health topics, pregnancy prevention, and then also like future orientation, planning for the future goals, things like that. When I first started, the position leadership was actually very understanding, and they allowed me to, continue to work there full time while I finished my last semester of undergrad, which was really great, and I really appreciated that. And so basically what I would do is I think about twice a week I would have to, go on campus, to do like, I think it was like a stats class that I was taking at the time. And then I also had some later evening classes. So I was able, to work a little bit later, like in the evening, still kind of like work full time while also go to school. And so during that time, um, I really appreciate that, like we are able to kind of like have a hybrid model. But because I was already like going to school, it kind of made no sense for me to like go to school and then come back home. So what I would do is I would leave school, and then I would like go straight to the office. But I did that every single day. There wasn't really like an expectation to come in every single day. Honestly, everybody was required to complete about 16 hours of office time. But I just kind of preferred to just go into the office, especially on Mondays and Fridays. It was really, really, really quiet, which I really like. I actually thrive well when it's quiet. So I would say about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months into the position, um, there was a role that was posted to our team chat, basically saying that they were going to be looking for an outreach coordinator. And so, although I have done like a lot of community work and stuff like that in the past, like putting myself like on the forefront of like being really social, meeting a lot of people, was not something that I really anticipated. And also, I wasn't really quite interested at the time because I had just started at the organization. So I was just trying to get my feet wet. And um, my associate director at the time, my direct supervisor, she basically came to me and was like, "Yeah, did you see like the new position that was posted?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did see it, you know." And she was like, "Well, what do you think?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm sure you know whoever applies for it, you know, there'll be a great addition to it." And she was like, um, "You know, why don't you apply for it?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I didn't really think that like I could because technically I just got here, and then I also know like there was at least one other person on the team at the time who was interested in applying for the position, and he actually told me about it." And so I wasn't really interested like at that time. And so she was like, "Well, you know, people actually haven't really applied for it, so I think you should go for it." So I did apply for it. And I actually did communicate to the other person on my team that I would be applying for it. He said that there was no problem. You know, whoever got it, it would be fine. It was a win for the team, no matter who got it, whether it was internally or externally. So I did go through the interview process, and I actually did get promoted to become the outreach coordinator. So right after I kind of got promoted, um, I'm just gonna keep it a being. Like I'm just gonna keep it a stack. Like people did start acting really weird towards me, and I don't know if it was because like now I kind of know that leadership was just fucking messy to begin with, and you know they had a lot of things that they were doing kind of like behind the scenes, but I thought that like people would have been like happy, but I can understand in hindsight that it's like, well, this girl just got here. How is she getting promoted already? So I don't know if they thought that I was in cahoots with management, whatever it was. That was not the case at all. Um, and I just know some people just not did not receive it pretty well, which was totally fine, understandable. But I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't treated fairly in the beginning, and I have to keep it honest. It just is what it is. In no way, shape, or form was I over anyone. I wasn't supervising anyone. My role was just mainly to go to a lot of community events, set up tables, you know, connect, form new partnerships while also maintaining our partnerships, and then also just make sure that the team was kind of supported kind of like behind the scenes, which the role was completely new, so a lot of it was just me figuring out exactly like what I wanted to do. Within like the whole year and a half, almost 2 year span that I was there, I have went to so many community events, everything from parent teacher nights, wellness fairs, um, I went to me and my coworker, we went to go plant trees at a local apartment. I have done pretty much everything. And so um, what I didn't notice that was that things were definitely taking a turn very quickly within the first couple months that I was there. And I'm going to explain that now. So within the first couple of months of me being there, an associate director from a team from another team within the organization ended up resigning, ended up going somewhere else. We had a chief of training officer. She actually ended up resigning. And so there were a lot of internal changes kind of like going on, and a high turnover rate, which is very concerning for me kind of like right off the bat. But I was just like, whatever, you know what I mean? People move on. And then shortly after that, we started having like actually direct service people kind of like transition out to as well, whether it was in regards to speaking up for the youth and like not wanting them to be used for, you know, numbers or whatever, or not wanting them to be like exploited and used as like success stories, which definitely makes sense if we're working with vulnerable populations. Like it's just not clicking. Um, and also too during that time, like we lost our HR just stopped. I don't know what happened to her. She just pretty much just like stopped coming in, and I thought maybe like she was sick. I can't really talk about, you know, her experience because I do want to keep that very private. But she did ultimately end up leaving, and from the time that I left, which I actually ended up leaving in June of this year, um, she was gone for about almost 3 to 4 months, and I just kind of knew, okay, she's probably not going to come back. Um, and they had ended up hiring like a CFO, you know, before she had actually fully left. And so when she got transitioned out, it's like, okay, we don't have an HR now, we have a CFO, but like we need an HR department, like for ethical reasons, for concerns, you know what I mean, to just have some sense of like understanding, which that's a whole other thing. I think people already know some things about, HR and how they really are just there to support the company. But I did like our HR person. So yeah, that's it. That's a whole nother story. During the year and a half span that I was there, I had actually gotten really close with like our CPO, and I actually shared some very personal things about myself, just about like my lived experience. As I mentioned, I am a former foster youth. Um, and I probably will be talking about this in a separate video. But I did lose both of my parents by the time that I was 10, and me and her just related on like a lot of things, just in regards to family and things like that. So I did divulge and share that information with her, which I definitely shouldn't have, but because this person is a licensed clinical professional. I did feel very comfortable. She did come off very motherly and nurturing, but my direct supervisor, we did not have a great relationship at all. I do not care for this person, and I don't know who's going to see this video, but I do just want to say you are a very terrible fucking person in the way that you treat people and you talk down to people and demean them and try to knock down their confidence is very telling. And you should not be in the type of work that you were doing. You should not be a therapist. You should not be a clinical professional at all. And I hope, I don't even know if she's fully licensed or not, but I hope that your license or whatever, like that shit gets taken away from you because you don't deserve it. Guys, I just had to say that. Me and my direct supervisor, like I said, we were not very close. Like I said, I had graduated undergrad in December of 2023. I had finished, and several months after that, I just realized, like, wow, like because the economy is the way that it is, because of the world is changing, I'm probably gonna have to go back and get a master's degree. So I remember sharing with her, like, I want to go back and get my master's degree, and she was just like, I don't think you need to do that. And I'm thinking like, girl, why not? Like you went and got your master's. Of course, I didn't say that. But that was just kind of like the one thing that kind of popped up in my head. It's like, okay, you're not the person I can go to for support. Um, she was very rude to other people, like talking down to people on the team, saying that like, oh, like they're a big talker, when they actually were just really good conversationalists. Um, talking down on people's, kind of like appearance, coming in sitting next to people, making them very uncomfortable, just being also like a Debbie Downer, like talking about people, during team meetings about like actual like staff meetings, saying that like, oh, that person just has a lot of energy in the morning. It's too early in the morning to be like that bubbly. And we're just looking like, girl, what the hell? Like, I remember specifically like last year, a lot of people started getting promoted because we started having a lot of internal changes. So she ended up becoming she went from associate director to a director of programs. And I remember at that meeting, one of the individuals on our team actually got promoted from a coordinator to a specialist. And a lot of people were like, okay, we ended up not having a manager. Our manager actually got promoted to, I think it was like executive assistant or something at the time. And I remember someone on our team saying, okay, well, since such and such, is now an executive assistant, like, is this person going to be our manager? And she literally was like, no, he's not. Like, he doesn't have any power. She literally said that. Okay. Guys, I have to be careful about like what I say, because I don't want to mention like any names. I don't want to put other people like in comfortable situations, but I just want to say that like it really isn't really like the nature of the work. It really is about the people that you work with who literally can make your life a living hell. During the year and a half, almost 2 year span that I was there, I got sick a lot. And I'm not even the type of person that really gets sick. Like, of course, I can always take better care of like myself. Um, but I kept getting sick like every other month, just coming down with colds. And it could have been from going to a lot of community events, but I think it was also from like the stress of the job, of trying to meet all these expectations, of trying to make sure the team is, supported, making sure that like I'm not working, after hours and things like that. I'm also working on the weekends. So because of the nature of nonprofits, like a lot of the programming is like federally funded. We do get grants and things like that. So how it would work is if I had to go to an event on the weekend, I would have to flex my hours during the week. Meaning that if I had an event for about 5 maybe to 8 hours on like a Saturday, I wouldn't be able to like work on like a Friday because I would not get paid extra money or get paid overtime to go to that event like on the weekend. So it's like now I'm giving up my Saturdays to go to this community event. And it's not that I don't care about the community, but it's like I also need time for like self-care. Um, During that time, um, I would go into the bathroom and like I would cry. I would cry in the stall. Um, and then I come back into the office, go to my desk, and act like nothing was happening. There would be times where I would come home and I would call my friends or I would call my niece and I would just talk about like the shitty day that I had, just ruminating, and it would just carry on into the next day. It would be times where like I would literally be afraid to like the next day that would come, I would literally lay in bed and like I would like cry myself to sleep, or I wake up in the middle of the night literally in cold sweat with my heart racing. Like, I'm being serious, like this is not a joke. We go to these jobs and we have to be able to support our lives. Like we have to be able to pay our bills. And I think a lot of the times these people know that, like, for one, when you are working in the nonprofit sector, like a lot of the mission, of course, and values is of course helping people. And so our mission was definitely very youth focused, like, and very like community focused, which, or family focused, which is the basis or the premise of a lot of like nonprofits too as well. And so a lot of the times they like always threaten you with like, oh, like we have to put like the families first and things like that, and making it seem like you have to sacrifice and put up with certain things to meet certain numbers, to meet certain goals. But it's like, why are you overworking people? You know, and my role too is like my job is to kind of like expand, but it's like people on their team are getting like 8 to 9. Actually, before I left, people had like 10, 11 sites that they were going to throughout the week. And it's like, I kind of had to scale back on kind of like expanding because it was like you are burning the team out. And I also was doing programming too as well because I want to make sure that like I'm still in contact with the youth, because at the core of my heart, like I love youth work. This is all that I've done for so many years. But it kind of got to the point where it was just like, I am teaching the youth all of these skills. I'm teaching them about standing up for themselves and like not letting people like walk all over them. And people are literally walking all over me, and they're walking over other people. And I'm also like in the behind the scenes, like trying to like support people. And it just became a lot. Something actually happened last year, around my birthday. Um, I was basically called on a meeting with our executive assistant and our CPO, and they were trying to promote me again from a coordinator role to a specialist role. And it was the day before my birthday. My birthday is November 2nd, and they were trying to offer me this promotion. I said that I would, I asked them, can I just have the weekend to just kind of think about it for a bit? They were like, sure, no problem. So I kind of knew, like, at the time, um, then and there, that like I honestly did not want to take on the role, because it would be basically I would be required to do like county things, and then I also would be required to help expand another department when I've already done so much work expanding the department that I'm already in, or the team that I was already on. And they also were only offering me like $1 2 raise, and it wasn't even like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like they weren't even trying to offer me like $30 an hour. Like they didn't even want to give me that, which was crazy considering how much I had already expanded and how much I was like doing in the community already. And people spoke very highly of me. I did not want the position. And I think after that, the bullying just kind of like fucking intensified from leadership. I know some people will feel like that's not what happened, but it did. And I remember like it was like late in December. It was like before a break, and I remember like calling off on a Wednesday, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just not feeling good, so I didn't go in. Thursday, I woke up, I still wasn't feeling good, and I just took off Thursday and Friday. My CPO emailed me and was like, yeah, is there a reason like why you took off, like, without like any notice or whatever? Anyways, it just didn't like respond. So anyways, we ended up having a staff party. This particular person actually gave me a hug at the staff party and literally told me to take care of myself and my mental health over winter break. And I thought nothing of it. At the time, my direct supervisor, she was actually out the country. But when we came back from winter break, she actually called a meeting with me and basically was saying that there were some concerns from leadership, basically saying that they have some concerns around my productivity. They don't know if I can handle the 40-hour work week anymore. Basically saying that like my behavior, has like changed, and also told me that leadership had audited my email because a one of our partners had ended up emailing the program, emailing saying that they couldn't get in contact with anybody, which was crazy. Out of all the partnerships that I literally have brought to this fucking organization, you are literally auditing my email over over one partner, which wasn't even really a complaint. And you could have just came and just asked me and just gave me a verbal warning and said, "Hey, Maya, you know, partner reached out. Can you just make sure that this doesn't happen again?" So it was there, honestly, where I just kind of was just like, okay, I'm just kind of like over it. Um, but yeah, like it just was just a lot of just abuse, just kind of like going on, a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of mental, kind of like abuse. Our CPO and our director, they are licensed, clinical professionals, are not even fully licensed. They do have some clinical background. And I feel like a lot of the times they would use that to get close to people and try to get people to divulge certain information, try to form close relationships with you and get to know you, only to flip it on you in the end. And I think that that's very manipulative, especially being in this type of field that we are in. And yeah, it's just terrible. You know what I mean? People saying that like they value people's mental health, but then leadership is behind the scenes, literally fucking laughing at people and talking down about people needing mental health days, even though we literally have piloted a whole new curriculum based on mental health. And yeah, it just became a lot. And you know what, I actually had my resignation letter, I had it written up for several months, and I just kept saying like, this is going to be the day you're going to quit, this is going to be the day that you're going to quit. And I would just never do it until like June actually came. And I remember they were telling me that they wanted me to help another department um, do some civic engagement stuff over the summer, which that wasn't even in my role. That's not even my scope of work. And although I did like, the person who was, in charge of the program, we actually are friends outside of work. It was just kind of like, y'all are still being abusive and you were trying to milk the fuck out of me, and you're not trying to compensate me for my knowledge or for my expertise. And I literally told myself June is going to be the last month that I'm going to be there, whether I have a backup plan or not. So my last day of work was actually June 25th, and I have not had a job since then. I don't care how much it is. I don't care about a goddamn check. Like, and this is coming from somebody who's already experienced housing insecurity and afraid to go back to that. But it's like I'm not going to continue to show up every single day somewhere where like my mental health is being affected, and I kind of just started to just disassociate. But this has also been very eye opening for me, and this has made me really want to rethink my career goals. Um, I actually started my master's in social work program in May, and I knew that that also wouldn't be able to stay there long term because I have to do my field work, and I knew that they were not going to allow me to do that, and it just wouldn't have made sense to begin with. But this has also just made me think about just whether or not I really want to work for any other nonprofit. I have had very close relationships with previous bosses. I actually have a really good relationship with two to three of my previous bosses, and they have been amazing. Um, but it just sucks that this experience had to happen to me. And I realized that a lot of people, unfortunately, just don't have the type of heart that I have. I think that a lot of the times I go into situations being a little bit naive because my heart actually is in it and I really do want to support people and be there for them. But it can't be to like my own detriment. And so, yes, I feel like a lot of the times working in the nonprofit sector, you will get burned out. You do have to work with people who are in toxic leadership positions, whether they are a director, a CPO, a CEO, a CFO, a president, or whatever, even though we literally are the people on the front lines doing the actual work, where I don't even know what the fuck they're doing up there. They always say that they're doing shit, but y'all ain't working like we working. All right. Y'all not seeing the type of shit that we see, and I realize that like the higher you climb to the top, like the more insane like it actually gets. Like these people are literally fucking crazy. They literally are fucking crazy. And it's a shame to me how like a lot of you too, like y'all can be licensed clinical professionals and you literally will fucking treat people like shit. You purposely will get close to people and be emotionally manipulative, which is crazy. Like for my direct supervisor, like this woman's literally like a fucking bitch. Like she's literally a fucking energy vampire. And so my thing is like, if you're just gonna be a bitch, babe, like just be a bitch. You know what I mean? And just be mean, like right off the bat, so like I can know what the fuck to expect from you. But a person who appears to like come off to be nice and very nurturing and caring, and turns out that they actually aren't, that's fucking manipulative and that's actually very scary. And I can't stand people like that. I am no longer going to continue to allow people to abuse me in professional settings, in friendships, in family shits. Like and I'm not allowing that anymore in my life. Yeah, I don't want to keep like ruminating, over this. But if you have worked in the nonprofit sector, I want you to comment down below. I want you to share your experiences. Hell, if you work in any type of social services work, whether you are a peer advocate, a case manager, a wellness coordinator, a social worker, a therapist, a community specialist, outreach specialist, engagement specialist, whatever the hell you want to call it, or whether even you work in corporate America or even you work in retail, like please comment down like your, experiences. I'm not telling anybody to quit their jobs, um, but I will say that like that shit will continue to make you sick until you put your foot down. Yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. And I'm going to try to edit this video now and post this up. And hopefully I'll be posting, again soon. All right. Bye, guys.